One day after China finished its war games around Taiwan, new drills began, just further south. For the first time, the joint annual exercise from the U.S. and the Philippines, known as Balikatan, or shoulder to shoulder in Tagalog, will include live fire drills at sea.
This year's Balikatan will be the biggest ever, an indication of the growth of our alliance and how it continues to evolve to meet our shared goals.
But what exactly are those shared goals? According to officials, peace and stability in a region which sees constant territorial disputes and disagreements. But they also further U.S. interests.
I think that this is another way of U.S. Giving this kind of confidence to its Southeast Asian allies and friends that which was waning over the decades. It's just not the military level exercises that these countries are doing. There are political level and diplomatic level engagements which is just intensifying just because of Chinese pressures in the region.
In Washington, D.C., top defense and diplomatic officials from the U.S. and Philippines met to agree on a roadmap for security assistance over the next 5 to 10 years, which they maintain is not in response to China.
Our goal is peace, security, stability, creating opportunity. It's not to engage in a new Cold War. It's not to contain China.
But the U.S. is not always a welcome presence. The U.S. military bases in the Philippines were shut in 1992, and there are those who believe officials have been looking for a reason to revitalize. Officials say the drills are not connected to Taiwan, but the exercises will take place on the islands closest to the Taiwan Strait.
U.S. imperialists! Clearly, the war games are intended to project U.S. power in Asia. It's not intended to defend the Philippines. It's not intended to help the Philippines modernize. It's really intended to showcase U.S. power, and it is a preparation for war.
China is also embroiled in a maritime dispute with the Philippines. Its foreign ministry criticized the military cooperation, saying it must not interfere in South China Sea disputes, still less harm China's territorial sovereignty, maritime rights and interests, and security interests.
Beijing is not the reason that Balikatan happens. It's not the reason that it happened now. It's not the reason that it happened this week. And so if Beijing chooses to interpret it that way, I think it's a bit too, it's internalizing its own messages too much.
Despite consistent calls for peace and stability, armed presence is growing in the Indo-Pacific region, and military drills are becoming the new normal. Damon and Herel Hughes for TaiwanPlus.